Hello and welcome to another virtual bourbon tasting with the Railbird Music Festival. I'm Drew Franklin from Kentucky Sports Radio, and I've been honored to be hosting these bourbon tastings at home. It's a tough job, but I've really enjoyed tackling it on. I have a lot of the same faces. I'll begin by introducing them, and then we'll get to our special guests from Elijah Craig, who will be, I guess we will be making the barrel pick for which Elijah Craig bourbon will represent the Railbird Festival and its family of select bourbons. But I'll start with the Railbird producer, David Helmers. Back again. David, how are you doing today?
I'm great, Drew. It's good to see you. I'm happy to be doing this again. Like you said, it's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it.
It's tough explaining it to the fiance and everyone else that on an afternoon on a weekday, I have to drink a lot of bourbon, but we're here to try it out. I see we have both Justins from Justin's House of Bourbon in one place that looks very fancy. How are you guys doing?
Doing pretty good, Drew. Good to see you guys. What's going on?
Ready to do more bourbon, I guess. And joining us for the first time, we have the Kentucky Taste Buds, Leigh and Tamara. They do a podcast here in Lexington. A lot of good stuff. How are you all doing?
Good. Thanks for having us. Yeah.
How's life as Taste Buds going these days?
Good. It's going great. And we also have a new radio show now. Well, it's been around for a year. We're on KISS 96.9 on Saturday from 10 to 2. That's right. So we're living large.
I know bourbon isn't what you all usually do on a daily basis, but are you ready to sample quite a bit of bourbon here and come to a decision later on?
Absolutely.
All right. And then we also have, it looks like a lot of people from Elijah Craig. I'll start with Brooke. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, my name is Brook Dury. I'm the corporate events manager here at Heaven Hill, and I work on the consumer events and sponsorships.
All right. And we have Andy. Andy, I think you know a little bit about private barrels. You ready for today?
I'm ready for today, yeah. My name's Andy Thomas, and I do the private barrel program for Heaven Hill. So I haven't tried any of these yet, but I hope that I pick some good ones for us, and I hope that I make this a difficult choice on everyone.
All right. And then we have Bernie. I guess you're the global whiskey brand ambassador. Is that correct?
That's right. So I represent not just Elijah Craig, but all the whiskeys we make at Heaven Hill Distillery around the country. And I also go overseas a little bit here and there, and I get to taste a lot of whiskey. So I was looking forward to. My passion is bottle and bond whiskeys, but I'll overlook that for today for Elijah Craig because the Reverend, he's known for some great whiskey.
Well, we're excited to have you. And then we have the master taster, even though I kind of consider myself a master taster after doing a couple of these. But Andy Thomas, we're glad to have you here with us as well.
Oh, thanks. Let me
back that. Sorry about that. I said the wrong name. Backtrack. This is why we can edit. We also have joining us the master taster, Conor O'Driscoll. I'm sorry, apologize. Conor, how are you doing today?
You're going to talk.
Okay, so we're having some technical difficulties with sound here, but can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, good. Well, hey. Oh, there's an echo. Let me.
I think, Connor, if just one of you all, maybe you mute it so we can't make it
Can
your
you hear me
volume out of one ear.
Anybody?
If you all are in the same place, I mean, you could just do it on the same account, I would think, unless.
Bernie and I are in the same room using the same microphones. Hopefully you can hear me. Anyway, hi, I'm Conor O'Driscoll. I'm Heaven Hill's master distiller. I run the distillery, make the juice that eventually becomes Elijah Craig. So, looking forward to working hard on a Wednesday afternoon.
I think we're all pretty excited to work hard. First of all, we'll just start off. Who's really, really excited about drinking some bourbon? I know I am. We start with the sniffing. I guess we'll start with the sniffing here in a little bit, taste a little later. But let's first start with the bourbons we have here in front of us. Would anyone take the lead on walking us through what exactly we have here from Elijah Craig?
Yeah, I'll take that. So what we have here, Elijah Craig Small Batch is made up of barrels that are between 8 and 12 years old. So what we have here are 3 samples that come from a single barrel that are going to be somewhere between that 8 and 12-year-old range. Now, these have already been cut down to bottling proof, which is 94 proof. They can come from a variety of rick houses, different floors, different rick house sites. That's about as much information as I want to share for now. I will tell you which order that I would like to go in. So if you look at this bottle, I would like to start us on barrel serial number 6194275. So hopefully you can see that.
Okay.
And as far as, you know, if you want to get them all in order, if you just want to, you know, take this one first and we'll go through this one, and it's up to you.
Let's go ahead and put them out in order. And we've been labeling them as A, B, and C. It helps for the conversation as we go on. So we'll just start. That will be A. And then go ahead and let us know what we have for B as well.
Okay. So B, we're going to do barrel serial number 5203424.
Okay.
And then for barrel C, we are going to do the last one, obviously, 5825752.
All right. So when we refer to all these, it'll just be an ABC. I believe everyone got the order there correctly. Good to go.
Yeah.
And before we get started, just to make sure that everybody has at least a glass of water to kind of cleanse your palate, or crackers in between each of your samples.
It's a great point there. I have my water.
We got these nice glasses from Elijah Craig, so I poured them in this. Sometimes we use those kind of Glencairn glasses, but thanks for the glasses. And this is fine for tasting, right?
Absolutely.
So I guess we've kind of developed a format here, having done this a couple times before. We'll kind of start with the smell of A, and then a smell of B, then a smell of C. We'll talk through the notes we get through the nose, and then we'll jump back in and get to tasting it. And then hopefully after we do that enough and talk about it enough, we'll be able to narrow one down for which will be the barrel pick for Railbird. Everybody pretty clear on how that'll go?
Sure.
And Bernie or Connor, could you all talk a little bit about Elijah Craig in general, the proof, the age of the small batch, and then how that differs from the way that we're doing these three picks?
Sure. Well, I'll start with how it all starts at the distillery. So this is at the distillery, we make 5 different mash bills, 5 unique styles of American whiskey. A bourbon that uses rye as the flavor grain. That's our HH Reg mash bill. We make a wheated bourbon. We make a rye whiskey, a wheat whiskey, and of course corn whiskey. Elijah Craig comes from the HH Reg, the rye bourbon mash bill. And when we make that accounts for probably 90% of what we make at the distillery. It's got 78% corn, 10% rye, and 12% malt barley. And when we make that, we don't designate it as Elijah Craig or Evan Williams or Henry McKenna or any one of the number of brands that come. We put it in the barrel as HH Reg, put it away in one of our 60 warehouses, and let it age. And only as it matures do we decide what it's going to be. Elijah Craig, I think Andy mentioned it earlier, is typically a marrying and mingling of 8 to 12-year-old barrels. Of course, these are single barrels, so I don't even know what ages they are yet. Andy Stevens tried very close to his chest, but that's how it starts off. These have been in the warehouses for 8+ years. And Bernie, if you want to chime in with your end of it then.
Well, Elijah Craig's typically, that brand has grown so much over the last 7 years since I've been with the company. And it's really been exciting watching the variety of barrels we've been able to put into this small batch. Elijah Craig used to be all one age. It used to be all 12 years old. And that was a cool whiskey as well. But when something has an age statement on it, you grab whatever barrels are that age, without discrimination of where they sit, or if you have to fill that age statement. Well, we had a challenge because the brand has been growing. It's a fast and great rate, as a lot of bourbons have over the years, but especially Elijah Craig has for us. That we had a challenge, but at Heaven Hill, because we have 1.7 million barrels in inventory and are able to spread those out over almost 60 warehouses, you're able to now grab barrels that are, as Andy and Connor have said, that are 8 to 12 years old, and having more of an opportunity to make that small batch of Elijah Craig more consistent, and really a beautiful and deep, rich product instead of just being one age. I'm nothing against age whiskeys, but when you have the opportunity to do something magical to a brand like Elijah Craig and really honor its legacy, this is and that's one part of being a large operation where it comes to your advantage. So it is really a great opportunity. But again, these are just going to be one age. So that is how it differs from that small batch version that you have on your shelf. What I urge people to do is, if you're lucky enough to grab one of these bottles after this, I say always take the mainline small batch, compare that to a barrel pick.
So you can see.
Bernie, you obviously know a lot about bourbon. Have you ever done anything like this where you're sampling with a group virtually and not in person?
Well, yes. In the last few weeks, I have done more than I've ever done in my life. So, but this is kind of special because I believe it's my first barrel pick virtual instead of just of a tasting.
Yeah, I'd like to brag a little bit about Elijah Craig and actually the whole family of Heaven Hill whiskeys. You know, at the House of Bourbon, we pick, over 100 barrels a year. We see thousands of people from all over the nation that come in, and this whole family of brands for the quality and the price points. I mean, it's just really hard to beat. So that's one thing we're really excited about, doing this pick and bringing it to the Railbird folks, and just Heaven Hill has done a great job not succumbing to that supply and demand yet, and really jacking up the prices on a lot of their flagship products.
Well, thank you very much. Kind words. Appreciate it.
I've seen a lot. So I've been gifted some Elijah Craig in the past, and I've purchased some in the past. And so I understand there's small batch. And then, am I right that there's like an Elijah Craig 18-year-old and an Elijah Craig, maybe even a 23-year-old? Those are all different products that are Elijah Craig barrels. And then this will be a single barrel, which will be unique from anything else, right?
Correct. Yeah. So they're all the same mash bills, start at the same place, but we age them the extra. So the family of brands, we've got a small batch, which is, we've talked about, the blend of the 8 to 12-year-olds. Then we have the barrel proof that we bring out 3 times a year, and it's 12 years old. Then we have 18-year-old, and it's usually single barrel. And we've discontinued the 23 for now anyway. 23 years ago, we weren't laying down that much.
And 24 years ago, there was a little pesky fire that we had at the distillery.
Yeah. And then, of course, there's the Elijah Craig Rye that we just brought out earlier this year in select markets. But that's the whole family.
One other question. You were talking about the mash bill for Elijah Craig and the percentage of corn being 78. So is that, just relatively speaking, if you're kind of learning about bourbon, is that a higher percentage of corn than you see some places, about average? And what difference generally does that make?
It's pretty much typical, I would say. To call your American whiskey bourbon, it's got to have a majority of corn in the mash, so greater than 51%. Of course, around here, corn is the grain that grows the most, that is grown the most. So it's readily available. It's a lot cheaper than the other grains, so it tends to be a lot more than 51%. If you go above 80%, then you're kind of getting into corn whiskey territory. If you do some other things. So generally speaking, bourbons are less than 80%, greater than 51%, and most are in the mid to upper 70s. I mean, you'll see people bring out, low corn, high rye, or high wheat bourbons, but generally speaking, that kind of 72 to 78% window is entirely typical.
All right.
See everyone already jumping in and getting a smell. Should we just get right to it?
Yeah. That's
We'll start with just a little discussion about that first one as we go. Did anyone, as you're doing it, if anyone has any strong thoughts or wants to jump right in with what they get out of that, feel free.
I tell you what jumps out of me is kind of and I just wrote down crisp linen. That came to me, and then I wrote down citrus and caramel. So the thing about tasting notes, and there's a lot of us at the distilleries that don't really talk in these terms unless we're in groups like this. Parker Beam was of the camp, and I learned a lot from Parker and some of the other old timers when I get together with them around for Whiskey Fest and Bourbon Fest and they break it down into that tastes like good bourbon, but it doesn't taste like good bourbon. So, but that doesn't make for a conversation that we're going to have here. So I just kind of write down what comes to my mind. I was taught that there's no wrong answers, and that even if it's seems a little like a crazy descriptor, what I write down. And I think that's what everybody should do, because there absolutely is no wrong answers to anybody. So when anybody's at home thinking about tasting, don't ever be afraid to just jump in what you smell and what you taste.
And one of the hardest tricks with this is putting the adjective to what you're actually tasting. You can recognize that taste, but then trying to put the word to it is the tricky part. I definitely get that caramel sweetness on it. I love the nose on it. Big, rich nose, lots of complexity there.
Drew and I have learned over the last couple of weeks that we're both excellent at agreeing with what other people smell. And when someone else tells me,
that's it.
I smell asparagus from the north side.
I could have said it, but so now it's right, linen, very sweet, and
yeah, what David said.
Leigh and Tam, any thoughts?
I think for me, Tamara and I are clearly not bourbon connoisseurs. We like bourbon, we drink it, so we're not experts by any means. But for me, it's really soft. It's really gentle. And so when you drink bourbon, sometimes it can be very harsh. And for me, this just has a very soft introduction when you first taste it. It's really good.
And I'm a big fan of Rolos. And so the caramel notes in this just really speak to me.
That's perfect.
It's a nice pairing, Rolos and Elijah Craig.
Yes. Well,
Yeah, I'm going to run out to Super America afterwards.
I have to take everything back to food.
A for me definitely has a lot of traditional descriptors on it. I get a lot of brown sugar on it. I've gotten into B a little bit here, and I know Sloan pointed out it's got a lot of citrus on it, and I would agree with that. It's definitely a little fruitier, I think, on the nose than what A is.
I picked that up. I'm so proud of myself. I thought citrus too when I sniffed it, Justin.
Yeah.
On B, Justin, I got cream. So a creaminess or like a cream factor that really popped out at me.
It's just super bright on the nose for me compared to A. A, I had a touch of, and I don't get this a lot in American whiskey, but a little bit of smoke kind of nose on it as well. But B just was super bright after coming from A, and kind of that citrusy stood out to me like more of a sweeter with citrus kind of note to it.
If Tam got Rolo in A, I get a little Cadbury egg in B. Did anybody get the Easter Cadbury egg there?
That's that creaminess, I think.
Yeah. Feel free to keep going right down the line. We don't have to stick to A and B. If you're already ahead and smelling C or already tasting, feel free to chime in with whatever. I'm just now getting to C on my end.
I had to go deep on C. I had to really breathe it in and really nose it. More so than A and B to get what I was hunting for. And when I did, I got tons of vanilla just for me, but it's a pretty traditional note. Different that I had to go that deep to find it, which is so fascinating about single barrels, because they can be sitting directly. These three barrels are not. They did not sit directly next to each other. But you can get barrels that sit directly next to each other, and they would all be different.
I'll agree with you there, because I have the same amount of pour on everything, same glass, and A and B hit me right as I got to it. But C, I had to really get down in there to really know what I was smelling.
You have to get to your second row.
When I first poured C, I nosed it and I got a little bit of chocolate, but it's kind of disappeared as it's aerated, I guess, or sat here a little bit. I'm like you. You kind of have to dig deep to get those flavors or aromas in this one.
David, you said chocolate on C. I mean, I definitely got it. Maybe it's more of a mouthfeel, like we're talking about all these Cadbury's products too. I get like that Cadbury's chocolate flavor on it.
Absolutely.
But it is interesting. It's how Tam, I think you said B was A, you said soft and gentle. This one's kind of got like a different soft, mildness to it that's like very pleasant and easy drinking.
Does anyone have any strong thoughts about any of the three before we get to the tasting, which is why we're here? Any of them just really jump out just by nose that you really like?
I think B is my favorite nose so far, but I'd love to get into the taste for sure.
Yeah, we're not bottling to smell them. We're bottling to taste them. So let's get right to phase 2 of how this works. Really get down into it.
For me, it's down between A and B, I would say.
So are we jumping into tasting these three?
Oh, yeah.
Go right in with A. And I got to tell you, I've only had A, but I really enjoyed A.
Now, these are all bottled at 94 proof. Andy, you want to tell them how we put these together for samples?
Yes, so all of these have been proofed down to 94 proof, which is what they will be bottled at. And that's also the same proof as Elijah Craig small batch. A little bit about the process of how these got here. Our warehouse crews, the very same crews that pull the barrels and put them away on a daily basis, they go to the rick houses and pull samples from each one of these barrels. They bring them back to the lab in a 1.75 liter bottle, where the lab will then check the proof on them, and then they'll taste them, make sure that they meet their quality standards, and then they will proof them down to 94 proof and give us these samples that we can use in the marketplace. So these proofs can obviously be all over the board before they're cut down to 94 proof. We fill these barrels at 125 proof, and after 8 to 12 years of aging, they can drop anywhere. I've seen them as low as 110, 112 proof, and I've seen some upwards of 150, 160 proof. So just to make it more consistent today and easier, and to give you a better idea of what the final product is going to be, these have all been cut down to that 94 proof.
Now that we've gotten into a little bit of tasting, I'm still working my way down the line. Anyone have anything to offer on? We'll start with A, as you've all tasted.
It goes in really smooth and easy. It's got a little bit of heat. It's sweet, and kind of sitting here thinking about the finish. But it's a good taste.
Yeah, I think A is very traditional Heaven Hill. I mean, from the nose to the taste now, it is very well balanced. You get those traditional notes on the fronts, and then on the finish, for me, it's a little hot. I mean, I call it a little gritty, but very, from start to finish, very well balanced. And like I said, just a little sweeter, I would say, maybe than what you might get off the shelf there. So it is an outliner of the flagship, but just very, like I said, you can almost just smell it and taste it in 1 second. Where this came from there.
Can you all brag on that awesome fireplace behind you as we taste these?
Yo, you light it? Little ambiance.
Is that in the Lexington store, or where are you all hiding these days?
in store.
I like the A as well, as far as it does have a bite that comes a little later after the first taste. And I feel like my lips are getting more plump by the minute.
Yeah.
It's just a burn on the lip that's very fulfilling.
And I think it's total taste buds.
Yes.
I think it's sweet and sassy.
Yeah.
Like I'm the sweet, she's the sassy. So I think this is the perfect one for us.
Yeah.
Leigh told me it was the other way around, that she was the sweet, but it's the other way.
Well, it depends on the day.
Very true.
I think we neglected C here a little bit, so I'm gonna chat about this for a second. We, I heard a lot of vanilla on the nose. I would agree with that, and I think it's the smoothest one thus far that I've had. It's doesn't have that grit on it. Very smooth finish and very approachable choice if that's what someone's looking for.
Is that C, Justin?
Yes, C.
Yeah, I'm just getting through B. I find really interesting and tasty too. I don't know if anyone else has thoughts about the middle one.
I like B. I think a little better than A. For me, A had a little too much oak for me personally on it. B is kind of a nice balance, but a little sweeter. But you still get some of that citrusy when you pull the glass up to your nose to take a drink. It almost reminds me of an old-fashioned glass with it's rimmed into orange when you go to take a drink. I think I like B a little bit better than A. I haven't got too far into C yet, but for me right now, I kind of lean towards B on the taste.
I've heard a lot of people say sweet on A. I think B is even sweeter. I'm going to agree with you there, Justin Sloan.
Yeah, I think B on the nose and on the taste, you might not say right away, hey, this is Heaven Hill. For me personally, I know Bernie and the Heaven Hill team would probably disagree with me on that, but I do think it is a little more of an outlier. And B is starting to grow on me a lot here. I do like the sweetness that it provides and the citrus from start to finish.
Yeah, I got that citrus and the sweetness, and then a nice, that's probably the sweetness, kind of a maple warm finish, and it lasts, stays with you a little bit, but not to use your word, not as gritty as the first one.
I agree with you, Justin. I think the B is quite the outlier, and that's actually what I look for when I'm doing barrel picks. If I wanted a small batch, something close to the small batch, I'd buy Elijah Craig small batch. I want something to be totally out there, and the differences I put down immediately for A was black pepper and jalapeno. Really, that caraway seed really got transformed into something really spicier to me in a great way. And then with that creaminess continued in B, and then I got confection sugar on my lips. It was just really sweet that came through. And then the vanilla that I got was more like a vanilla bean, really heavy, like, really in there. But that confection sugar really just got to my lips too. And it went all over my palate. It was just amazing. And then C, I just seemed to me didn't have the same heat as the first A and B. And to me, taste more like an Elijah Craig small batch would be. And so even though it's a phenomenal whiskey, I like to go for something that's totally different, because that's why we're doing these, I think.
I agree with you, Bernie. I mean, you're gonna pick a single barrel, pick something that's different.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm gravitating towards B. I liked A first, but the more I drink it, that sweetness kind of becoming almost cloying, where it's subtler, more cloying on B, and it's I think B's got a more depth, more richness to it. C I like, but I would almost wonder if there's wheat instead of rye way back when. It's that mild. But again, Andy, you said you hoped you picked 3 good whiskeys. You did. These are 3 great. So I really like C, but I think for the uniqueness, the one that checks all the boxes for me.
This goes back to we found one we like, but is it the one you want to put out for Railbird and make it unique? So you kind of have to not just pick one of the 3 in front of you, but pick what would be best to put out there too. So I agree with what you just said. It's very similar to what's already out there. I lean going for something unique and new for people to try.
So for me, I really like C, probably the best, but for me, it's a day drinker, and I think B is has more punch to it and more. That's what I'm drinking at the nightclub. So to me, that's more reminiscent of what you would do at Railbird.
I just kind of got a little bit. It is a much. It's just less robust, maybe. It's good. It's very drinkable. It goes down very smooth, and it has no harshness and kind of disappears, pretty quickly. I think B has that. It's just more robust. It has a really great flavor, but a nice, long, kind of warm, sweet finish that I thought was really good.
David, I totally agree with you. I was loving A before I tried the rest of them, and honestly, A if it just had a little bit more of a lingering finish, I think I would be, on team A. But B has that finish that I like to experience, with a good bourbon. It kind of does check all the boxes for me personally. Has that nice finish. You're drinking, a good bourbon. A and C, I think both are very drinkable, very, very smooth and very drinkable, but I just don't get that nice lingering finish, that Kentucky hug, if you will, from A and C like I do from B.
Right, and with all this social distancing, we need all the Kentucky hugs we can get. That clearly makes it a front runner because we're these air elbow bumps are wearing out on me.
Right, sure. Tell you, the finishes on these are pretty incredible on all 3. Sometimes there's an empty finish, and some that are drier, and that's just going to happen. But I thought that the finishes, and I think that people don't talk about finishes enough. And it's just like I'm still drinking it here. It's been like 2 minutes since I finished my last one, just to see how far and how deep these finishes would go. It's pretty incredible.
Leigh mentioned one of them is kind of what you get at a nightclub. I'm wondering if we'll ever get to nightclub again. How does that work? How many years until we get to have one of these at a nightclub?
Party at my house after 4:00 tonight.
Happy hour.
Well, one interesting note, these are all 8+ years old, and we've talked about one of them having a hint of oak, but there's no overpowering wood in any of them, which I think is really interesting because they've been in the wood for a long time, and it just shows you how we manage our warehouses to no one note dominates. You get this, instead of an age, you get a maturity, that richness that is the hallmark of a really good whiskey. So I think A maybe had the most oak on it, but you kind of got to dig for it.
I'm going to test Drew real quick. Drew, which one are you leaning towards right now?
Me? I'm leaning
Drew.
Drew.
Oh, Drew.
At this moment, B, but I haven't given C enough attention just yet. But
all right, well, hang on.
Deciding on the spot.
Is that bacon I'm getting on C? Huh?
Let me see.
That is bacon. What you get?
No bacon. No, I didn't get bacon.
Pulling on your heartstrings there, man.
Well, now that you mention it, maybe.
I do like B. I'm going to add a little water to a couple of them as well. See how that goes.
Right, because if you're not drinking these neat, if you're putting a block of ice in there or drinking it on the rocks, it's going to get diluted a little bit by the time you get to the end of it. So it kind of sometimes shows a little bit of different profile when you drink it that way. Oh, by the way, I also did get this from Elijah Craig, which is the little ice ball maker.
Oh, nice.
What that is?
Yeah, you
I
guys
had no idea.
didn't know what it was?
No.
Yep. You fill that up with water, and then you'll have a nice clear ice ball to pour some bourbon over
Nice. Love it.
noon or this weekend, or however long it takes to get the ice frozen.
I would have shown mine off as well, but I immediately filled it and put it in the freezer as soon as I got the box. So I will be enjoying mine probably after this tasting.
Do you have your Elijah Craig socks on? That's the real question.
No, but they're right here.
All right.
Or
Something that I like to do that's just kind of me is after I've done my tasting and after I've put my notes down and after I have pretty much in my head which ones I like, whatever, I just go back again and I go boom, boom, boom. And I taste them one after the other pretty quick. And that's a kind of an interesting way because it's, you're not taking the time to think of adjectives and tasting notes and that. You're just tasting the taste. And I just love doing that. I don't know if that's kind of a name for it or not, but it's
that's a good
Burnster maybe.
I'm going to try
the Burnster.
I'm going to try the Burnster.
Machine Gun Bernie there. No, this sea is growing on me right now. It's like it's opened up a little bit. When I first was sampling it, I didn't get much on the front end of it, but now it's like from start to finish, there's something there. And
there's a bomb of something that I can't describe. A bomb. It's a bomb, like you said, sweetness or a bomb.
Yeah, this is the type. Correct me if I'm wrong, Connor, there, but like I feel like if you left this in the barrel a couple more years, it would still grow a little bit. Possibly.
I agree. This is, again, the overaging tends to show up as those heavy wood notes, as like the raw, dirty old stick flavors. And there's like hints of any of these. So they could easily go another year or two plus. And again, maybe 18.
Yeah, I'm wondering if I need to mark the C for Railbird 2021. You just go ahead and put an R on that.
I can tell you all, this particular C right here isn't going to make it till 7 o'clock tonight. So all you want, but mine won't last long. Brooke, did you have any strong thoughts about any of them?
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning toward B. I love the spiciness and just kind of how robust the whole flavor is. To me, C did almost taste like a wheated bourbon. Like it was so soft on the nose and on the palate. But, I could see that being like very universal. I could see a lot of people gravitating towards liking C. So, B and C is where I'm towards.
B and C keep coming up. This is usually about the time we eliminate one and keep it going. Does anybody want to put up a fight for A, or do we want to go ahead and start focusing more on narrowing it down between B and C?
I think I'm just going to buy Tamara a pack of Rolos so we can move on with A from over here. That'd be great.
If we're eliminating A, then Andy, can you tell us how old A is and a little bit more about the barrel?
I can. So, are we good with eliminating A?
Yeah, I didn't want to force that on everyone. People keep saying B and C, so it's not my call.
I think the consensus was B and C. A, we liked A, and it was nice knowing A, but I think
we're gonna miss A.
Okay. So I was really enjoying a lot of the comments that I was getting from Barrel A. A lot of people said that it had the most oak, which is interesting because Barrel A was the youngest barrel out of the group. So Barrel A was an 8-year-old barrel. And it says here on the bottle, it's from Warehouse V, as in Victory, on the 5th floor. So middle to upper floor, warehouse V is part of the original Heaven Hill warehouse location there in Bardstown. So tried and true warehouse, good sweet spot of the warehouse. It's just interesting how we all got more oak on the youngest barrel. So that's all I'll say at this point.
You're smiling like the Cheshire Cat over there.
Yeah, I feel like there's more to this story.
No. I'll take barrel A off to my deserted island.
I tell you what, the more I taste C, the more it's jumping out at me. I mean, I thought that B was the outlier, and now I'm almost think that C is an outlier over B. You know what I'm going to have to do? I'm going to have to pour a little bit more B and a little bit more C, and I might have to machine gun it, and then I might have to take it slow. I might have to do a single shot. So
We could be here all night.
we could be here for a while.
We're down
It's
to
amazing
two.
how I think, Justin, you were right. And the fact that these changed a whole lot now.
This is a heavyweight match.
So are we officially saying goodbye to A? That was it?
That was it.
Yeah.
I'll be glad to take all the samples off your hands. You can send them to me.
I said last week, I said, now I'll be coming around and picking up those samples. And,
Yeah.
no one volunteered. They all.
Now, David, is that one of those old-fashioned Mayberry key rings behind you with that locked shelf? What's going on back there?
Yeah, that's the bourbon vault here at the Helmers Garage Mahal, we call it. It's a little
Teenagers.
outbuilding behind my house. And yeah, and that padlock, I've got, I have a daughter who's now 21, so she's got the key, but my 18-year-old son doesn't. So yeah,
There you go.
We're out here behind my house. It's a great little hangout area, and great for things like this.
Well, we'll be right over.
One good
I
thing
will
about
say my allergies have been acting up, and B is helping clear it up a little bit more than C. Yeah,
It's medicine.
Medicinal.
medicinal.
My
Yeah.
grandmother, every night, she might, just calm her nerves. She'd call us and say, well, I had to have a little bourbon last night. We'd say,
I'm
yeah.
still on Team B, guys. I haven't switched over to C yet, so if you can talk me into it, I'll listen. But I'm still Team B. Is kind of B is where I like to sit. I've gone back and forth, and I keep going back to B.
I hear
Yeah.
he is really good.
The C, I think, has a tad longer finish, but B on the nose and B, it's a little brighter on the front end. I think I think I'm leaning a little towards B at the moment.
I've been thinking B from the beginning, but I will continue to give C a little bit more love before I go all the way in on picking it.
We don't want to be premature here, Drew. We got to really get a good taste of all of it.
I take this job very seriously, David.
I know you do, and I appreciate it.
The good thing about the virtual tasting is I can have as much as I want and make it to bed just right over there. Don't even have to get an Uber. All on over.
That's right. Just steps from bed, right at home. Taste buds, what do you guys think about? We're counting on your Kentucky taste buds. What do you guys think between B and C? You guys together or separated? Any thoughts?
I like B.
Again, C is probably my favorite overall taste that I would drink every single day. But for me, B is something special. It's something unique and something that I think would represent Railbird very well. It just has an extra punch to it. Yeah.
B or C?
B.
B.
Okay, you're all in for B.
This is kind of, though, your dream scenario when you're doing these. I mean, these barrels, I'd be happy to have both of them, So whenever you have a choice like this is definitely the situation you want, But, with that being said, I mean, I am leaning towards B. I went back and revisited C, and I think there is something special about it. But, I think at the moment B has about nose for me.
Is that you putting an order in for Justin's House of Bourbon for the other barrel?
It could be, man. It could be. Like I said,
many barrel picks. They have a way of sometimes getting the finalists.
That's how this happens. This is how for me now it's a toss-up. And everything I ever do with the toss-up, I go with my first choice, and that would have been B. But as the outlier, so they're so close to me, and now the more I taste them, it's nothing's going to change now. So they're so close. So I always put down my initial thoughts, and that was B. But C's incredible.
Yeah, I am starting to get a little of that cream that you mentioned earlier on B, Bernie. So yeah, it's a great barrel.
Yeah, I never have a bad experience with B. I mean, it's so good from beginning to end. I really do like it. It's just pleasing all the way through.
Getting a lot of B's here. Connor, did you have any? You're the master taster. I mean, it's a big title. You have any? You going to fight for C, or are you on Team B as well?
I think I'm on Team B. That was to echo what Bernie said. That was my first number one choice. C definitely closed late, but I think B for the bigness, the richness, the uniqueness from the parent brand. I'd B all the way. And of course, Cadbury's cream egg.
It seems to be pretty unanimous on B. Do we want to go ahead and make that call?
Who's writing the check?
Andy, you already did this a little bit, but since it looks like we're settling in on B, will you just one more time tell us what exactly it is we're picking here on B?
Hear about C that's gone out the door first. You tell us.
Okay, so B it is then, right?
Yep. Let's do it.
Okay, barrel B is a 12-year-old barrel.
Oh.
From warehouse S, as in Sam, from the 6th floor. I will say in the barrel program, it's pretty rare to get a 12-year-old barrel from the 6th floor of one of these rick houses. There's only 7 floors in the rick house, and so the higher up you go in the rick house, the hotter it is, and the more evaporation there is. I would imagine this is going to be a lower yielding barrel, but it makes perfect sense for all the taste notes, the mouthfeel, the finish. It's a really sweet barrel for where it's sat in the rick house for 12 years. So warehouse S is on the original Heaven Hill warehouse site, 6th floor. Again, one of the, almost to the top. I think that it was my unanimous decision as well.
Well, I think we did well there. I know we did well based on tasting it, but I think the provenance underscores how we did. So an esteemed panel doing good work.
So where did C come from, Andy?
It's very interesting. So barrel C came from the brick houses that we have in Louisville at the Bernheim Distillery. So right next door to where Connor distills this is where this barrel aged for 9 years. And this is from the 8th floor. Now, Connor, I believe those rick houses over there are 10 floors or 11?
Some are 8, some are 12. And actually, now that we know it comes from those warehouses, so those of you who don't know, the first 2 warehouses are, metal-sided, in the country, no insulation. They're about 40, 50,000 barrels each. This warehouse 1J, is brick walls, concrete floors, concrete every other floor. And they are up to 70,000 barrels. They're big, they're heat sinks. So when we talk about temperature swings in, it's 110 degrees outside, it's 130 in the warehouse, it's 20 degrees outside, it's minus 20 in the warehouse. And those swings pushing the maturation, these brick and concrete warehouses, that's muted a lot. So you don't get near as hot nor near as cold. So the maturation tends to be much more gentle and softer because it's not getting pushed into the wood as hard nor pulled out as hard. So that definitely helps explain why it's so soft and gentle, and it's got those much milder notes, even though it is a 9-year-old. And then, what floor did you say it was on, Andy?
8.
The 8th floor, yeah.
So it's all the way upstairs in that house, and you think top floor, 9 years old, it should be as woody as hell, but obviously, again, this is one of the great levers we have to pull with all these different styles of warehouses and all our different brands. For 5 mash bills, we can pull all these levers and put this mash bill there and the other one here and over there, and you get these very different, distinct brands from those different warehouses.
It's really interesting to taste that after kind of hearing its home address, I guess.
Yes,
because it's just interesting to me, and it's very smooth and mellow and tasty, and it feels like it's been sheltered, for lack of a better word.
Loved.
The most interesting thing to me when I saw floor 8, I kind of knew. I mean, plus I saw the 1J, and I kind of know where that is. But so it's really. So I'll give you a little glimpse into Heaven Hill and a peek under the tent. How about that? So when I first started in 2012, I was working with Parker Beam, and Parker Beam is a giant in the industry, and he's in everyone's Hall of Fame, and he's in my Hall of Fame. And I worked with Parker, and I tasted Parker, and I traveled the country with Parker, and Parker told me that. No good bourbons coming out of Louisville, out of those brick houses, because he didn't like them, and it just wasn't where you put bourbon. You put younger bourbon there, but you didn't put older bourbon there, and that's great. That's Parker's experience, and that's Parker's world, and he lorded over what he knew, and he knew a lot, and he still is one of the people who affects our company more than any one individual with the standards that he put down. But Parker never tasted this whiskey at this age coming out of these warehouses. And I can safely say that I think that if Parker tasted these whiskeys coming out of these brick houses at an older age, that Parker would have to stand back and go, well, wait a minute. I think I was wrong. And that's one cool thing about Parker, is that he would tell you when he was wrong. And the stuff that's coming, the barrels that are coming out of Bernheim and out of some of these brick houses, of course, are outliers because they're so different than the traditional music open rick houses. It's pretty incredible, and I think that even though Conor's only been here a little over, a short period of time, I think that he's kind of embraced these whiskeys because he doesn't have that negativity, and he didn't, and it's where it works. And so I'm not really sure, but are you liking these whiskeys coming out of Bernheim?
I'm loving them. I've had a 15-year-old wheated bourbon out of these warehouses. That thing was spectacular. It basically took seed and went off that direction with it. And you think of wheated bourbon in a barrel for 15 years, the barrel's going to overwhelm the wheat not going to stand up to it, it's not going to be any good, blah, blah, blah. And it's literally one of the best whiskeys I've tasted in the last 12 months because it's so unique, and the surprise of the age with that delicious flavor, because it was in those great big warehouses where things happen slowly and smoothly and gently.
I'm telling you, it doesn't surprise me that our favorite came from our main campus at Heaven Hill, because it's an incredible campus with some great airflow. Parker always said, without good airflow, you don't have good bourbon. But I tell you what, a lot of people think that Deatsville is our honey hole, and it was one of Parker's honey holes, and it's still one of great honey holes of the world when it comes to the world of bourbon. But I think the next great honey hole for Heaven Hill, and I know kind of where Connor thinks it was kind of a softball question, but but I think that this could be your honey hole. This is pretty incredible location, and I think it could be our next Deatsville. Pretty impressive to have two of the coolest honey holes at the same distillery, but maybe I'm a little biased.
I agree. You're definitely not biased.
Well, I will say I think we did amazingly well. We picked a fantastic tasting bourbon, and I appreciate Elijah Craig's effort in picking us 3 tough barrels to choose from, and I appreciate everybody who helped out in selecting this barrel, which will be the Railbird 2020 Elijah Craig Rickhouse Select, and we'll all be enjoying it. And in August, and for as long as it lasts. It's only going to be a limited number of bottles out of that 1 barrel's worth. And as you said, being 12 years old, that may not be that many bottles, but I'm sure they'll go quick. And we'll hold on to them and enjoy them while we've got them. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you guys for having us. Cheers.
Cheers.
Great. So much fun.
Oh,
Thanks,
hey,
Jeremy.
Please invite us to the next one.
thanks for sharing those stories about Parker, Bernie. So, and that insight there, for those who didn't know, Parker was kind of like the Dean Smith or the Adolph Rupp of his industry there. So, just thank you for sharing the insight from Parker.
You're more than welcome.
Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you to everyone for joining us and tasting. Thank you for the bourbon. I will pay more attention to A and C, even though we've picked B. But, we have our winner from Warehouse S, Floor 6. It will be your Railbird barrel pick from Elijah Craig. Thanks, everyone, for joining us, and everyone who watched at home.
Thanks, everybody. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.